comedian, absurdist. When's the last time you physically hurt yourself? What did you do to get the pain to stop? And how long did you wait to do something about it? When we're in physical pain, we're usually extremely proactive about figuring out how to make it go away immediately because, it hurts. Even if we have to go through more pain from pouring disinfectant that stings on an open wound or suffering through getting stitches, we do it right away because we're very focused on our ultimate goal, relief. When it comes to our emotional pain, however, we're apparently way more game for seeing just how much torture we can endure, wallowing in our guilt, shame, resentment, and self-loathing, sometimes for entire lifetimes. We prolong our misery by holding on to our ill feelings, by bad-mouthing our mother-in-laws, fantasizing about pantsing our loudmouth, incompetent bosses in front of the whole office, unloading fault on other people, and rolling around in our minds the many reasons why our enemies are wrong and the many reasons why we're right. We relive our worst moments over and over and over instead of letting them go. We pick at the emotional scabs and refuse to let the healing happen and the pain subside. We won't rest until we've made sure someone else feels as badly as they've just made us feel. If I have to suffer my entire life, I will make sure you see how you've wronged me. We cling to the resentments that take up our brain space, waste our time, spin us out, keep us angry and depressed, and very often make us physically sick, and sometimes even kill us. Because, why? Lugging around guilt, shame, resentment, and self-loathing is the big snooze running the show, pitching a fit, demanding to be right and to be seen. Your higher self, on the other hand, could give a crap about what anybody else thinks or does because your higher self is madly in love with you and that's all that matters. Whatever happened, happened. Holding on will not change this fact. It will just keep the negative feelings from the past alive, keep you a prisoner to your pain, and lower your frequency. The moment you decide to forgive and let your negative feelings melt away, you are on the road to freedom. Forgiveness is all about taking care of you, not the person you need to forgive. It's about putting your desire to feel good before your desire to be right. It's about taking responsibility for your own happiness instead of pretending it's in somebody else's hands. It's about owning your power by giving all your anger, resentment, and hurt the heave-ho. Holding on to resentment is like taking poison and waiting for your enemies to die. If you're having issues with someone you care about, explain how you feel without putting the blame on them, and regardless of the outcome, forgive them. Your talk may bring you closer together, or you may discover that you don't want to hang out with them as much, or at all, but either way, if you want to be free, you have to let it go. If you're feeling hurt or resentful towards some a-hole you don't care about, free yourself and let it go instead of stewing on it or getting revenge by sending them a box of rats in the mail. Why do you care if they understand how lame they are or not? What good does that do you? And don't pretend it's because you want them to become a better person. You could care less. You want retribution or an apology or to be acknowledged as right. Get over it. Let it go. The longer you stay attached to being vindicated, the longer they hang around in your consciousness, stinking up your life. Do not fall prey to the false belief that by forgiving someone, you're letting them off the hook. Because when you forgive someone, you let yourself off the hook.
Oh.
Forgiving isn't about being nice to them. It's about being nice to yourself. Okay, so great. Yes, we get it. Now how do you actually let it all go? How do you forgive this stupid bastard? 1. Find compassion. Finding compassion for yourself or someone else who did something so awful is like pulling a bullet out of your arm. You may kick and scream and hate it at first, but in the long run, it's the only way to start the real healing. One of the best tricks for doing this is to imagine the person you're resentful of as a little kid. Think of this little person acting out of fear, doing the best they can to protect themselves and attempting to deal with their own suffering in the only way they know how. People act poorly because they are in pain or confused or both. Understanding this and imagining the person who you want to behead as a sweet little innocent child with big puppy dog eyes will help you find compassion for them, which is the key to forgiveness. And same goes for anything you feel you need to forgive yourself about. You too are just a little bunny trying to work it all out. Find compassion for your sweet little sippy cup self and let it all go. 2. Erase the other person from the equation. Imagine you've got 2 employees who don't show up for work on the same day, leaving you to handle everything yourself the morning before a huge presentation. One of them blows you off because she's hungover and just couldn't deal, but the other found out that her beloved mother suddenly died and had to run off to the airport, forgetting to call you in her emotional haze. Same exact result. You're ditched and left to do all the work yourself. 2 totally different ways to react, which means you have a choice. One choice puts you at risk of busting an artery out of rage. The other opens your heart. Another option is to picture yourself hanging out in your brand new boat, and an empty boat floats up and bangs into you, leaving a scratch. If there's nobody in the boat, there's nobody to get mad at, and you deal with the situation in a much calmer, inquisitive way. If there's some moron driving that other boat who bangs into you because they're checking a text, however, you deal with it by going crazy and calling them a bunch of names related to genitalia. Again, same exact situation. You get a scratch on your boat. 2 different ways to react. When someone does something awful to you, take that person out of the equation so you can open yourself up to have a more pleasant and productive reaction. And life. It's not about them anyway. It's about you. If you have nobody to be angry at, it's hard to be angry. Instead, it opens up the incident for questioning. Why did this happen? How was I involved? Why did I attract this to myself? How can I grow from this? How can I find compassion for everyone involved? When you're consumed by resentment, the lesson can't get through all your inner and outer screaming and yelling. Do yourself a favor and use irritating situations and people as opportunities for growth, not pain. 3. Decide you'd rather be happy than right. Sometimes the road to freedom lies in deciding you'd rather be happy than right. Yes, your idiot friend should have paid the parking ticket she got when she borrowed your car, or your brother shouldn't have shaved your dog while he was house sitting for you. But if they don't see it that way, instead of spinning out on it for days, wouldn't it feel so much better to just let it go? Is it really worth lugging around all those foul feelings just so you can be right? Think to yourself, what do I have to do, or not do, or think, or not think, right now to be happy? And if the answer is, let the jackass think he's right, then so be it. 4. Look at it from all angles. It's important to remember that everyone is living in their own self-created illusion, and that you have no idea what they're acting out or where they're coming from. So just because you think something is totally not okay, in their illusion, it could be fine, and your way could be totally not okay. Look at it from another perspective. Loosen your stranglehold on it being my way or the highway. Let some air in, and you may be surprised how quickly resentment flies out the window. For example, you send your good friend a text about a dinner party you're having and invite her to come. She sends you a text back saying she can't make it because it's her birthday. You now realize you completely forgot her birthday, so you text her back an apology and a sad face. You hear nothing back. So you text her, "Happy birthday!" You still hear nothing back, so you proceed to spin out. You go from feeling awful for hurting her feelings, to wondering what kind of idiot adult still cares that much about her stupid birthday, to thinking how much you'll have to spend on a present to relieve your guilt. Meanwhile, she accidentally dropped her phone in the toilet bowl after her last text to you. By being inquisitive about, instead of a slave to, your reactions to other people, you get the double whammy bonus of not only setting yourself up to forgive them much more easily,
Come on, let me
because
go.
you realize that it's really
Let
about
me
you,
go.
but you receive the great gift of being enlightened to
I
some
did
of
well.
your own not so special
Oh, they're
traits,
gonna reload.
so you can grow and learn from them.
I did well. I don't
Much
care
more
what
on all
they
this
say.
in chapter 21, Millions of Mirrors. In her brilliant book, I Mean It, Go Get It, Loving What Is, 4 Questions That Can Change Your Life, Byron Katie says, "We don't attach to people or things. We attach to uninvestigated concepts that we believe to be true in the moment. For example, in the aforementioned scenario, instead of attaching to the quote-unquote truth that this person isn't answering your text because they're upset, all you need to do is ask yourself, Why am I freaking out over something that I have no proof is even true? Or, how would I feel if I didn't just assume that my friend is mad at me? You could literally be one question away from being happy in any otherwise upsetting situation. 5. Have a total shit fit. Go somewhere alone and far away from other people and beat the hell out of a pillow or a mattress or some other soft, inanimate object that won't hurt your fist or punch you back. Scream and yell about what a selfish little pig this other person is and go for it 100% until you're exhausted or someone calls the cops on you. Get it out of your system totally and completely, and then let it go. 6. Remember that you won't even remember this. Try and think about someone who had you totally freaking out and all pissed off 3 years ago. Can you even come up with someone? If you can you get all worked up about them now? Whatever or whomever you're needing to forgive in this moment will most likely be a mere blip not very long from now, depending on the severity of the situation, of course. So why make a huge drama out of it if you're only going to forget about it one day?
Fun. I want to do that
See
again.
it as the future non-event that it is, and start forgiving and forgetting right away. When it comes to forgiveness, what you actually have to do is not hard. It's like quitting smoking. You actually do less than you do when you smoke. You don't have to go to the store to buy cigarettes. You don't have to open the pack, light one up, find an ashtray, etc. All you have to do is stop. All the work is in letting go of your self-created attachment to cigarettes. Same with forgiveness. All you have to do is let go of your self-created attachment to this other person or belief. 7. Forget about it. Once you've truly forgiven someone, wipe the slate clean. So often we form judgments about people, and then, no matter what they do, we see them through the lens of that judgment. Which means we're just waiting for them to piss us off again. Which means we're still in the forgiveness light stage. We're pretending we're cool, but we're really still holding on to some resentment. Release all expectations. Let everyone off the hook. Treat people as a blank slate over and over again. Expect only the best from them, regardless of what they've done in the past, and you may be surprised. What you focus on, you create more of, and if you keep expecting people to annoy you, they will not let you down. Focus on their finer points and encourage their good behavior if you want to create more of it. 8. Love yourself. You deserve it. Chapter 16. Loosen your bone, Wilma. You don't paddle against the current, you paddle with it. And if you get good at it, you throw away the oars. Chris Christopherson, singer, songwriter, actor, Rhodes Scholar, still super hot for an old guy. Several years ago, I went on a life-changing trip to India. In case you haven't witnessed it yourself, India is heaving with life. A swarming blur of vibrant colors, honking cars, wandering cows, packed trains, endless slums, elaborate palaces, ancient temples, and sweet-smelling incense. It's literally full to the brim with humanity. Chatting and chanting and sitting on top of you while you struggle for space on an overbooked train. Your only options are 1, go with the flow and get to know your neighbor, or 2, grow a big fat stress-related tumor about it. I am extremely impressed to report that the majority of the country went for option number 1. In India, some people will spoon you on a bus and fall asleep next to them, roll down their windows to chat with you in a traffic jam, stare unblinkingly at your non-Indianness, help you if you're lost, insist you get in their family photos at historical monuments, invite you in for tea, burp, fart, and laugh in your face. It's totally annoying and sweet, and makes me think they clearly know something important that I've long forgotten, and that I suspect most of the world has forgotten too. I didn't have to darken the doorway of an ashram, or stick a red dot on my forehead, or partake in any of the other thousands of spiritual options the country is famous for offering. Who needs them? As far as I'm concerned, you can pretty much learn everything you need to know about spirituality and life by taking a 12-hour bus ride through India during wedding season. When I bought my ticket on the Super Deluxe Express bus to Delhi from Agra, home of the Taj Mahal, I was told I was paying a wise 400 rupees extra for the luxury of a 5-hour non-stop ride, as opposed to the 10 hours and countless stops of the local bus. I was so extremely
No,
exhausted
Mama, I
from the
do.
3 sleepless days I'd spent whooping it up at a camel festival in the desert that the thought of hunkering down on the Super
Yes, I
Deluxe
still
and
look down
sleeping
at the
all the way to
controller.
Delhi sounded good to me. But what I got instead was a seat next to Mr. Friendly, a middle-aged man who spoke 3 words of English and who insisted on chatting me up even though I was doing what I thought was a very convincing job of fake sleeping and a very real job of having no freaking idea what he was saying. The bus left an hour late due to massive confusion and overbooking, and took almost 2 hours to get out of town thanks to the fact that this was November, peak wedding season. Weddings in India traditionally involve a ceremony that lasts for days, stretches for miles, welcomes anyone caught in the crossfire, and includes a parade through the streets complete with horses, marching band, explosives, a car with a loudspeaker blaring Indian music and important wedding announcements, and a bunch of guys carrying what looked like table lamps on their heads. My bus ended up getting trapped in wedding festivities pretty much every 10 minutes, which meant that everyone on the bus, every time we stopped, skipped off to join the party. When we finally did get out of town, we kept pulling over to let random people on and off, in the middle of nowhere. Have some tea, a smoke, a chat, maybe light a fire in the brush in a ditch, or strap giant burlap sacks full of something large and bulbous to the roof. At some point, this guy got on who was standing by the side of the road in the darkness. We scooped him up without coming to a full stop, and he took his place at the front of the bus, standing right next to my seat, and immediately began hollering at everyone in Hindi. My busmates responded by alternately chanting, cheering, and sitting in silence, while I responded by seeing if I couldn't find another seat farther away from his mouth. I got up and joined the group of people sitting on rickety benches around the bus driver, who was in this small room behind a wall of glass. The people huddling around him made room for me, and suddenly I felt like I was watching an action movie on a screen the size of a giant bus windshield. We were careening through the narrow dirt streets of tiny villages, Bollywood music crackling over the radio, while people, goats, and monkeys leapt out of the way, slowing down only for the almighty, holy cow. Then, all of a sudden, in some tiny nowhere village, the driver pulls over yet again. More chai, perhaps? Maybe he's going to visit a friend. Has to pee? Wants to take a walk for an hour while we all sit here? The driver waves for me to follow and gets off, as does everyone on the bus. It turns out that Mr. Yell in my ear was some sort of holy man who was just warming up the crowd for a tour of the temples in this small, gorgeous village called Vrindavan. It is,
Come
I
on,
learned,
buddy.
the place where
Come on,
Krishna
Banana
met his wife
Man.
Radha, and where they built hundreds of
Damn.
temples in their honor. So for the next 2 hours, I found myself wandering through the countless temples, gaily tossing flowers onto shrines, holding hands and skipping in a circle around a statue of Krishna, solemnly chanting, praying, and clapping, and all I could think was how homicidal a bus of New Yorkers on the express bus from New York to D.C. would be in a similar situation. Meanwhile, not one person on the bus was expecting this, and not one person complained, even though when we finally got back on the bus, it was well past the time we were supposed to be arriving in Delhi, and we were still a good 5 hours away. Instead, they all thanked and tipped the holy man, and spent the rest of the ride merrily chatting away with one another. After that, we stopped at a roadside restaurant for dinner, then another pee break, then I was waking up the family I was staying with in Delhi at 3 a.m. They, of course, acted like it was the middle of the afternoon and insisted I share a cup of tea.
All right, so we're gonna
Here's what
transition
India taught
to
me
Xbox.
about tapping into the mother lode. Talk to strangers. We're all family on this planet. Expect and enjoy the unexpected. Find the humor. Join the party. Live in the moment. Time spent enjoying yourself is never time wasted. Share your space. Loosen your bone, Wilma. Love yourself, and life becomes a party. Part 4. How to get over your BS already. Chapter 17. It's so easy once you figure out it isn't hard. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Albert Einstein, scientist, awesomist. I was hanging out in my sunny California home one morning, reading the newspaper with the doors flung open and the stereo blasting, when all of a sudden a bird came tearing into my living room. He was flapping around like a maniac, flying into lamps and plants, spreading leaves, feathers, poop, and panic all over the place. In an attempt to escape, he kept slamming himself into the window while I feebly chased him around with a flip-flop, trying to guide him back towards the open door. It was awful to watch. The poor guy was all panting and wild-eyed, his little birdie heart no doubt about to explode with fear, while he threw himself over and over again into the glass at full speed. I finally managed to escort him outside to freedom, and then spent a very bothered few minutes calming my own little birdie heart while I revisited the scene of the accident. I imagined his confusion and frustration. I can see the sky. It's right there. If I fly hard and fast enough, I know I can reach it. It made me think of the way so many of us live our lives. We can see what we want and nearly kill ourselves trying to get it in a way that's not working. Meanwhile, if we just stopped, got quiet for a minute or two, and looked at things a little differently, we'd notice a door to what we want being held open for us by the nice lady in the bathrobe across the room. Then all we'd have to do is fly through it. Oh, the drama we create for ourselves. We're so deeply wrapped up in our stories. I don't have the money. I'm not good enough. I can't quit my job. I'm lazy. I have bad hair. Trudging through life with our heads down, clinging to our false beliefs like lifeboats full of doo-doo, that we prevent ourselves from seeing the literally infinite sea of possibilities and opportunities surrounding us at every single moment. Have you ever walked down a street that you've walked down a million times and suddenly noticed a house or a tree or a mailbox or something else totally obvious and in your face that you've never noticed before? Or have you ever suddenly become aware of the eye color of someone you've known for years? Or have you ever looked at your mother and thought, I was inside of that woman once? All of this stuff didn't suddenly appear and then you noticed it. It was all there all along. You just weren't experiencing it because your focus was directed somewhere else. Here's a cool exercise. Right now, look around wherever you are and count the number of things you see that are red. Take about a minute and count them all. Now stop, close your eyes, and try to think of everything around you that's yellow. There's probably a ton of yellow, but you didn't see it because you were looking for red. What you choose to focus on becomes your reality. And that's just an example of what we're not noticing that we can see.
Whoa!
There's also an infinite amount of emotions and thoughts.
This shit just blows my... Oh, snap. Whoa. Whoa. Did y'all just hear that? I'm gonna rewind it 30 seconds. I'm gonna rewind a whole minute.
Exercise. Right now, look around wherever you are and count the number of...
So what she had everyone to do, she had everyone look around wherever you are and count the amount of things that you see that are red. All right. Hold on, I gotta take a second. Hold on, I gotta. Wow. Okay. So after that, she had them close their eyes and think about the things that they saw that was yellow. And what I got from the exercise is right at the end, she says, what we choose to focus on becomes our reality. And it's like, it caught me off guard because I did the activity. I counted, I have a red marker, a red flash drive, whatever. But then I couldn't think of anything that was yellow, although there was nothing about it that's yellow. Now I'm thinking here, but what we choose to focus on is what we see. Let's get back into the book. Whoa, and again, I rewinded it back a minute for those who's just coming in, and I'm going to pick it back up right there. And just let's do the activity one more time.
Things you see that are red
in
your face that you've never noticed before.
Let's do it. Let's one a little bit more.
I can't quit my job. I'm lazy. I have bad hair. Trudging through life with our heads down, clinging to our false beliefs like lifeboats full of doo-doo, that we prevent ourselves from seeing the literally infinite sea of possibilities and opportunities surrounding us at every single moment.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked down a street that you've walked down a million times and suddenly noticed a house or a tree or a mailbox or something else totally obvious and in your face that you've never noticed before? Or have you ever suddenly become aware of the eye color of someone you've known for years? Or have you ever looked at your mother and thought, I was inside of that woman once? All of this stuff didn't suddenly appear and then you noticed it.
Excuse me, guys. Happy New Year, EJ. It's January 1st. How are you, babe? Welcome to the set. This is Fortnite on Xbox. And on Fortnite on Xbox, it has different game modes. So we have the option to play story mode, which is a beta version. That's where you see beta, which is save the world. And then you have creative, and we have battle royale. So right now what I'm doing is, oh man, and I bought it. I could have saved 50% on the game if I would have waited a couple of days. And video games, man, it gets you everything. We're doing a new segment here where we listen to audiobooks while we game. So it's like refreshing our brain while we game. You know what I mean? So this one is really good. She's going to do a really good activity. I think you'll like it as well. Listen up.
It was all there all along. You just weren't experiencing at every single moment. Have you ever walked down a street that you've walked down a million times and suddenly noticed a house or a tree or a mailbox or something else totally obvious and in your face that you've never noticed before? Or have you ever suddenly become aware of the eye color of someone you've known for years? Or have you ever looked at your mother and thought, I was inside of that woman once? All of this stuff didn't suddenly appear and then you noticed it. It was all there all along. You just weren't experiencing it because your focus was directed somewhere else. Here's a cool exercise. Right now, look around wherever you are and count the number of things you see that are red. Take about a minute and count them all. Now stop, close your eyes, and try to think of everything around you that's yellow. There's probably a ton of yellow, but you didn't see it because you were looking for red. What you choose to focus on becomes your reality. And that's just an example of what we're not noticing that we can see. There's also an infinite amount of emotions and thoughts and beliefs and interpretations and sounds and dreams and opportunities and smells and points of view and ways to feel good and responses and non-responses and things to say and ways to help. Yet, because we're so set in our ways and so committed to our stories about who we are and what our reality looks like, we only scratch the very surface of all that's available to us in every single moment.
Thanks.
Meanwhile, we're totally surrounded by countless awesome versions of reality, and they're all just hanging around like a bunch of shy teenage girls at the prom, leaning against the walls, waiting for us to ask them to dance. As the poet William Blake so eloquently stated, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. So, why would you create anything that's not totally awesome? I mean, we're only talking about your life here. If you chose to get over all your reasons why the money you so desire is evil, or your conviction that you're the kind of person who's scared of intimacy, or your attachment to a plethora of other excuses that you perceive to be very serious and real, when in reality, they're probably kind of cute and ridiculous. You could literally create any reality you want. Whenever I become impressed by a particularly creative array of new excuses I've come up with, or start to organize an elaborate pity party for myself, I turn to Ray Charles. I don't often listen to his music, but I always think about Ray when I need a kick in the rear end. He was a broke, blind minority who was orphaned by the age of 15 and raised in the colored part of town, in a time when slavery wasn't all that distant of a memory, and he went on to become one of the most influential and successful American musicians of all time. Basically, he wasted no time on excuses. Any little woe-is-me-ism that I try and hold up against Ray instantly builds into the sniveling little nice try that it is, and I'm forced to look upon my life and my excuses with a new perspective. Really? You're really gonna let that stop you? All you have to do is make the choice to let go of everything you're so attached to that's not serving you and manifest the reality that you want. Life is an illusion created by your perception, and it can be changed the moment you choose to change it. Our entire experience on this planet is determined by how we choose to perceive our reality. I know, as if. It can't be that easy. If it was that simple, how could I possibly have spent all this time banging my head against the glass wall of my own self-created ho-hummery? But before you get into a bad mood about it, remember, all this stumbling around in the reality we tend to be stuck in is very valuable because it allows us to grow and learn and evolve. Rough seas make better sailors, but you get to choose how long you want to stay in school and work on the same issues over and over and over. Your graduation cap and gown are clean and pressed and waiting for you whenever you want to put them on. All you have to do is let go of your present story and rewrite a new one that fits who you truly are. If you want to join the party and shift your perspective, do what I say in this book, and really do it. Don't just half-ass it. And while you're at it, believe it too. Study the resources I suggest on my website. Commit to releasing your attachment to low-frequency thoughts and experiences. Trust that the universe loves the crap out of you. Kick fear in the face and head bravely into the unknown. Also, do the following. 1. Become aware of what your stories are.
Excuse me, I need to co-parent. Hello? Happy New Year.
This target's a tricky one. Keep
Say
searching.
what? Alright, hold on, let me mute my... Let me mute my...
You ready for Christmas? I got you guys all some presents. I can't wait for us to come so I can come home and make some cookies. Yay! Yes, it's all back except my microphone. I'm wearing those. I'm coming out. So,
my weapon.
Bag of bones here!
everything's washed. Good job, Dad.
Yeah.
We got the medal of my mom for Pops being mad at me. That was funny. Can I talk to Aunt Jeannie?
Bruh.
Oh,
Bruh, don't listen.
if she's sleeping,
Hearty
if you know
medium
she's
roast.
sleeping, Aunt Jeannie.
I feel more like myself already.
You think I could get a handful of that coffee?
Sure, Lars, but usually coffee comes in cups, not handfuls.
Whatever you say, little robot. But if I sleep, I'll have that dream again.
Wait, you're having crazy nightmares too? We'll get you some coffee, Lars.
Make it 2 handfuls, please.
They are not the truth, and they can be rewritten. You're the author of your own life, not your parents. Study the resources I suggest on my website. Commit to releasing your attachment to low-frequency thoughts and experiences. Trust that the universe loves the crap out of you. Kick fear in the face and head bravely into the unknown. Also, do the following. 1. Become aware of what your stories are. We call these stories because that's what they are. They are not the truth, and they can be rewritten. You're the author of your own life, not your parents, not society, not your partner, not your friends, not the bullies who called you Fatzilla in junior high. And the sooner you decide to rewrite yourself a better script, the sooner you get to live a more awesome life. Before you can let go of your stories, get clear on what they are. Listen to what you say and what you think about, and start busting yourself in your own lies. We get so used to and so identify with our broken records that we don't even notice they exist or that they're not even real. And yet we'll fight to the death to uphold their non-truths. Listen specifically for sentences that begin with, I always, I never, I can't, I should, I somehow, I wish, I want, as opposed to I will and I am. I don't have. One day, I'm trying to. Sad Sack Jane, the lawyer, says she should keep her miserable job at the prestigious firm because she'll never find one that she likes that pays as well. Really? Is that why nobody on earth, anywhere, is doing a job that they love and making even more money than you make, Jane? Lonely-hearted Sally always says she can't find a good single man because there aren't any left out there. Really, Sally? All the good single men were hunted down and killed, so no matter how many dates you go on, or how many times you put on sexy high heels and hang around Home Depot, you'll never bump into one? Was the awesome guy your friend Deb just met the lone survival of the good guy genocide? Broke-ass Joe, the personal trainer, always talks about how he can't make any money and how there are no good high-paying clients out there. Really, Joe? Not any? Anywhere? Then how is it that other personal trainers have more high-paying clients than they can handle? And that some even created energy drinks and workout products with their pictures on them and are raking it in on QVC? Another good place to catch yourself in a story is by looking at the areas in your life that are sagging. If you're constantly angry, maybe your story is, nobody understands me.
When you're ready.
If
If you're always overweight, maybe your story is, I have no self-discipline. If you're uninvited from Thanksgiving
Bonus
dinner
challenge is now
because you wouldn't let anyone else talk at the last 3 family gatherings, maybe your story is,
Nice work.
nobody pays any attention to
Add
me.
blue glow to the atlas.
Remember, as
Open
Wallace
mission
Waddles
control when
said,
you're ready to begin.
to think what you want to think is to think the truth, regardless of
Good for the
appearances.
pick-me-up.
Instead of pretending
I
to be
can't do
stuck
that
in these
dream
lame-o
again.
realities,
Steel Wool
use
is
your
on
power of
stage.
thought to change your
Lights come
attitude
up.
and change your life.
Suddenly, my fingers just
Start paying
forget how to
attention.
play.
What are your
The
favorite
audience turns
self-sabotaging
on us, throwing
stories?
bottles and
What do you hear
demanding
yourself
refunds.
think and say over and
Then
over
they
again
start
that has become who
screaming.
you are,
I'm not sure
or
what,
rather who you think you are?
but it sounded like
Bust yourself in your own tired,
Ooh.
old, broken records right
Steel
now
wool
so you can
does
set
not
about rewriting
hear
your stories and
booze.
creating the kind of life you love. 2. Become aware of what you're gaining from your stories. We pretty much don't ever do anything that we don't benefit from in some way, be it in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. If you're perpetuating something dismal in your life because of some dopey story, there's definitely something about it that you're getting off on. Let's say, for example, that your story is that you're depressed. Chances are pretty good that even though it feels awful, when you feel awful, you don't have to work hard, or do the laundry, or go to the gym. It also feels very familiar and cozy and comfortable. It gets you attention. People come in and check on you, and sometimes bring food. It gives you something to talk about. It allows you not to try too hard or move
That's enough
forward
blue
and
glow.
face possible failure. It lets you drink beer
You
for
got this,
breakfast.
Commander.
Let's say your story is that you can't make money. By staying broke, you get to be right. You get to be a victim, which makes you dependent on other people and gets you attention. Other people will offer to pay. You don't have to take responsibility. You get to give up before you start and avoid possible failure. If things in your life fall far below the mediocre scale, you get to blame other people and circumstances instead of taking risks to change it because you can't afford to take risks. Let's say your story is that you stink at relationships. You get your freedom. You don't have to commit and can keep looking for the greener grass on the other side. You don't have to risk getting hurt by being vulnerable. You get to complain about always being single and get sympathy. You get the whole bed to yourself, never have to compromise, and don't have to shave unless it's summer. We don't realize it, but we're making the perks we get from perpetuating our stories more important than getting the things we really want because it's familiar territory, it's what we're comfy with, and we're scared to let it go. If we've been depressed or victimized or whatever since childhood, we trick ourselves into believing that it's really who we are as adults in order to continue reaping the quote-unquote rewards. It's how we survived as kids, but it doesn't serve us anymore, so we need to get rid of it or we'll just keep creating more of it. For example, let's say you grew up with a violent alcoholic father, and your way to protect yourself from being the target of his rage was to never speak up, to never let yourself or your wants and wishes be visible. Cut to you as an adult who never speaks your truth or who never stands up for yourself. You're still reaping the false rewards. You're playing it safe, not risking getting hurt or yelled at. But this behavior is backfiring on you because by hiding and not taking a stand for yourself, you're living a life that totally makes you want to roll over and go back to sleep every morning, instead of getting up and facing your day. Once you identify the false benefits you're reaping from holding on to your stories, you can start the process of letting them go and replace them with new empowered ones that'll serve the adult you. 3. Get rid of your stories. Once you know what the beast looks like, you can slay it. Take your list of can'ts and shoulds and I nevers, etc., and write stream of consciousness in a journal, and really feel in your body what you're getting from these old limiting beliefs, such as, I feel special, I feel safe, I get to live with my parents and never get a job, etc. Make a list of these false rewards. Really push yourself to get them all onto the page. Then feel the attention, the specialness, or the comfort, or the safety, or whatever your trip is, and really become clear on it. Catch yourself fully in the act and feel it all the way through. Now look at your list of false rewards for what they really are. Scared little parts of yourself acting out. Thank them for trying to protect you and for keeping you company, but tell them it's time to run along now. Then replace the feelings you got from these false rewards with the feelings of joy and power and excitement that stepping into who you truly are and who you're now becoming will bring. Imagine that childish version of yourself leaving your body and the powerful adult stepping in. Breathe in the adult, breathe out the kid and the old story. It's like finally taking the keys to the Ferrari back from the 7-year-old version of yourself who's been driving it all this time, nearly getting you killed. See yourself as the adult stepping in to take your place behind the wheel. Keep envisioning or writing down what it looks like and feels like to have the real adult you replace your old childhood story. Feel it. Get excited by it. Then make the decision that you're ready to change and take positive action in the direction you want to go. For example, let's say that lonely-hearted Sally finally got fed up enough to get mighty real with herself and face her issues around relationships. She'd start by getting clear on what her stories are. I can't meet a man because there aren't any good ones left. I suck at flirting. I never know what to say to men.
I get in line for some caffeine?
I'm not attractive to men. Not the good ones anyway. I scare men away. I don't trust men. I don't believe there really is anyone out there for me. Once she's got her list, which could easily go on for pages, by the way, but for the sake of example, and because I'd like to leave the house today, we'll stick with these. Sally can stream of consciousness journal about the false rewards she's getting. And by stream of consciousness, I mean just let it flow. Don't edit it or overthink it too much. Just write it. In Sally's case, her journaling may look like this. By saying there aren't any good men out there, I don't have to take responsibility for why I'm not meeting any. I get to feel victimized and right for staying single. I get to prove how lame men are by never being with a good one. My pain of feeling unworthy and my mistrust of men get proven right when I stay single. I feel like I know what I'm doing, and I get to stay in control by not letting anyone get close to me. I feel free. I feel safe. I feel special because I get attention for breaking the rules. Again, this could go on for hours, but you get the idea. Once she's gotten all her false rewards on the page, Sally can then focus on them, feel them all the way through, thank them for trying to protect her. We don't want this to turn into a self-loathing exercise, please. And release them by replacing them with new, powerful stories. She can literally take each one and replace it with a new truth. For example, by saying there aren't any good men out there, I don't have to take responsibility for why I'm not meeting any. She could then change this to, the world is filled with awesome and loving men, and I am fully capable of and so excited to find me a good one. I get to feel victimized and right for staying single. She could change this to, I am powerful and in control of my life. I choose to love and be loved.
Get him.
I get to prove how lame men are by never being with a good one. She could then change this to, I love and trust men and am so thrilled to be with an awesome guy who makes me giddy with happiness.
Bruh.
These new stories become her new truth, and in order to make them stick, she focuses on them, breathes them in, and feels how happy they make her feel. These stories are her new affirmations. Remember those? That she will not only write down and repeat and reward herself with over and over and over, but that she will instantly replace her old stories with if they should fly out of her mouth or into her mind out of habit. Let's review, shall we? 1. List off your old stories that you've gotten into the habit of thinking and saying. 2. Journal about the false rewards you get. 3. Feel into these false rewards, thank them for their help, and decide to let them go. 4. Take each false reward and write a new, powerful story to replace it with. 5. Repeat this new story or affirmation over and over and over until it becomes your truth. 6. Behold your awesomeness life. Nothing in this world is permanent, including our stories. Yet we try to hold on to them with false security, which ultimately leads to sorrow and loss. Be willing to let go. Keep reinventing your story as you continue to grow. 4. Get a move on. Once you've gotten clear on your story and have done the energy work, take action. If you were once depressed but have decided to let it go, stop listening to melancholy music. Stop talking about how lousy you feel. Stop pretending that putting on your bathrobe counts as getting dressed, etc. Instead, focus on the good and do the things you love to do. Make an effort instead of collapsing into the familiar feeling of being depressed. Realize that you've gotten into habits with these things and switch them around. Behave the way a person who isn't depressed behaves. Dress how they dress. Hang out with the kinds of people they hang out with. Speak the way they speak. Do the things they do. Really sink into the understanding that you can have what you want. This won't work if you just pretend. You can't be like, okay, I'm going out on a date. I'm telling myself I'm going to have a great time, but I know it's going to be hideous because it's always hideous, but I'm having a good attitude about it. Going out into the world and trying, yet still deep down believing that you're ruled by your past circumstances, is like forgiving someone, but still hoping they sit in something wet. 5. Get out of your routine. Talk to strangers. Wear something different. Go to a new grocery store. Make dinner for someone who you want to get to know better. Change toothpastes. Go to a movie at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Learn 3 new jokes. Walk taller. Notice 5 awesome things you've never noticed about your home, your beliefs, your mother, your face. Do things that pull you out of your routine, and you'll be amazed by the new realities that were there all along that suddenly present themselves. 6. Sidestep the spiral. There's also the ever-popular spiral into darkness, where you begin by being sad that your dog died, then realize that not only are you now dogless, but you're still single, and you will always be single because everyone, including your dog, leaves you, which probably wouldn't be the case if you didn't have such fat thighs or weren't so overshadowed by your gorgeous sister, who is pretty much the main reason you've had no self-confidence your entire life, and wah. Feel sad, but don't blow it up into some huge drama. If something negative happens in your life, feel it, learn from it, let it go, and get back to focusing on the life you're excited to live. 7. Love yourself more than you love your drama. Chapter 18. Procrastination, Perfection, and a Polish Beer Garden. In order to kick ass, you must first lift up your foot. Jen Sincero, author, coach, self-quoter. One of my first jobs out of college was production coordinator for the Ethnic Folk Arts Festival, which was put on by a little non-profit group in New York City. I heard about the position opening up from a friend and decided I had to have the job, even though I'd never produced a thing in my life, and find folk art to be fairly yawnable. It looked like fun anyway. They worked out of a funky loft in Tribeca, knew a lot about music, brought their dogs to work, and the festival I'd be working on gathered musicians, dancers, and artists from around the globe and brought them together in a Polish beer garden in Queens for a big fat party, which meant men in skirts and free sausage and beer. So I put together a resume that listed such achievements as produced plays in college, i.e., demanded my friends show up to watch my boyfriend act, started several organizations in high school, started a sledding team that had no competition and only one meeting where we spent most of our time figuring out how to score some beer. Worked at my college radio station, hung around while my friend DJ'd. Then I got all dressed up in some business casuals that I borrowed from my mom that didn't fit and marched off to my interview. A couple of hours later, me and my big mouth had a new job. That night I laid awake in wide-eyed horror. My God, what have I done? I'm a monster! These sweet, big-hearted, sandal-wearing people just handed me a coffee can full of money that they spent an entire year collecting for this festival, and I'm the lying fathead who's gonna blow it. I thought about turning myself in, but, unwilling to turn down a good party, went for it instead and wound up working harder for them than I had ever worked in my life. I decided that I'd rise to the occasion, that I would do whatever it took to make this the best damn festival that Polish beer garden had ever seen, and I pulled it off with flying colors if I do say so myself. I got all 27 of my unemployed friends to hand out flyers and take tickets in exchange for the aforementioned free sausage and beer. Herded the unruly polka dancers into their places on time, got the latke vendors to set up,
I got more.
and saw to it that the bagpipe parade went off without a hitch. If there's something you really want, I'm not necessarily saying you should lie to get it, but I am saying you're probably lying to yourself if you're not going after it. Because so often, when we say we're unqualified for something, what we're really saying is that we're too scared to try it, not that we can't do it. Most of the time, it's not lack of experience that's holding us back, but rather the lack of determination to do what we need to do to be successful. We put so much energy into coming up with excuses why we can't be, do, or have the things we want, and designing the perfect distractions to keep us from our dreams. Imagine how far we'd get if we just shut up and used all that energy to go for it instead. Here's the good news. 1. We all know way more than we give ourselves credit for knowing. 2. We're drawn to things we're naturally good at, which counts more than having a graduate degree in the subject, by the way. 3. There's no better teacher than necessity. 4. Passion trumps fear. In hindsight, I realized that I was more qualified for that job than I thought. I'm a big sister, which means I'm naturally bossy. I love throwing parties, and I can talk to anyone, even 76-year-old Russian men who don't speak English and are freaking out because they can't find their tights. I went on to do many more things that I was quote-unquote unqualified for, but I also wasted plenty of time pretending I wasn't ready to do some of the other things I really wanted to do. And, shockingly, the times I jumped in and went for it were way more fun than the times I spent sitting around, quote-unquote, getting ready and doing nothing instead. Whether it's an online dating profile you're not ready to post, or a trip you want to take after you lose 10 pounds, or a business you want to start as soon as you save enough money, just start. Now. Do whatever it takes. You could get run over by the ice cream man tomorrow. One time I spent an entire month preparing my office to write a book. I got just the right chair, put the desk in the perfect place by the window, organized all the materials I needed, and then reorganized them 3 times. Cleaned the place until you could perform surgery on the floor, and then proceeded to write the entire thing at my kitchen table. Procrastination is one of the most popular forms of self-sabotage because it's really easy. There are so many fun things you can do in order to procrastinate, and there's no lack of other people who are totally psyched to procrastinate with you. And while it can be super fun in the moment, eventually the naughtiness buzz wears off, and you're sitting there a few years later, feeling like a loser, wondering why the hell you still haven't gotten your act together. And why other people you know are getting big fat promotions at their jobs, or taking trips around the world, or talking about the latest orphanage they've opened in Cambodia on NPR. If you're serious about changing your life, you'll find a way. If you're not, you'll find an excuse. In the interest of getting you where you want to go in this lifetime, here are some tried and true tips to help you stop procrastinating. 1. Remember that done is better than perfect. Just get the damn website up already, or send out the mailer, or make the sales calls, or book the gig even though you're not totally ready yet. Nobody else cares or will probably even notice that everything isn't 100% perfect. And quite honestly, nothing ever will be 100% perfect anyway, so you might as well start now. There's no better way to get things done than to already be rolling along. Momentum is a wonderful thing, not to mention highly underrated. So get off your ass and get started now. 2. Notice where you stop. When you're working on whatever you're working on, or whatever you're pretending to work on, where exactly do you stop? Is it when you have to do the research? Make the scary phone calls? Figure out how to raise the money? Right after you start? When you have to commit? When it starts getting good? Right before it takes off? Before you even get out of bed? If you can pinpoint the precise moment that you say, screw it, I'm out of here, you can prepare yourself for hitting the oil slick by hiring coaches or assistants, or by psyching yourself up or delegating that particular part of it out, or by removing known distractions. For example, let's say you discover that every time you sit down to make calls and try and book yourself a speaking gig, you mysteriously find yourself pulled into Facebook for hours. Here's your solution. Turn off the internet, or go someplace to make your calls where you can't get online, like a park, or your car, or Antarctica. And then decide that you have to make 5 calls before you can check back in and see if anyone commented on the picture you posted of your cat eating a potato chip. 3. Make a bet with someone new. A good way to make yourself accountable is to make a bet with someone who will hold you to it. They must have no mercy. They can't coddle you or understand that you tried your best. You want the kind of person who will make you feel humiliated even before the excuses start to come out your mouth, or who will show up at your doorstep with a burlap sack, a big rock, and a blindfold should you attempt to wiggle out of paying your debt. And make sure you bet something that's painful to lose, but not too unrealistic. For example, you could bet someone $1,000 that you'll have the first chapter of your book written by a certain date. Make it a payable amount that you really don't want to pay, but that's barely within your reach. Then write the check out to him, include the payment date, and keep it over your desk to remind you what's in store if you don't get the job done. And if you really want to up the stakes, tell him that if you don't meet your deadline, instead of giving him the money, you'll donate the $1,000 to a group or cause that makes your flesh crawl. Personally, I find this kind of horror works wonders for my self-discipline. 4. Own it and work with it. If you're the kind of person who blows everything off until the last minute, and you know this about yourself, why waste your time freaking out while you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing?
The book
Go to the
just,
damn...
it just touched me in a special place.
Follow me, they might get us some XP. That guy seems to not be close enough. I got Dino SP71, blah blah blah. I'm following you. The whole team is here. I definitely survived the 50 days.
Beach, have a cocktail, and when the pressure's on, get down to business. There's nothing worse than time wasted pretending to work or stressing out while trying to have fun. No work gets done and no fun is had. It's the worst of both worlds. Figure out how much time you truly need to get the job done and go do something else until the clock starts ticking. 5. Love yourself. Right now, wherever you're at. Chapter 19. The Drama of Overwhelm. I have lived a long life and had many troubles, most of which never happened.
Chapter
Mark
19.
Twain, American author, humorist.
How I jump from chapter 5 to chapter 19?
She said 5.
I mean, chapter 15 to chapter 19 so fast.
When I set out to write a new book, I find it very helpful to start with a separate
see a yellow
index
book
card
over
for
there?
each chapter. I put the chapter title at the top of each card,
The whole book is
write my
yellow.
notes in the space underneath, and then spread them all out on a table so I can see the whole thing at once. I just did this a few days ago, and it was so exciting. Behold, my glorious new book. About 2 seconds later, however, I was seized by panic. Oh my god, that is a lot of chapters. How the hell am I going to get it all done in time? My deadline is speeding around the corner and I'm not even entirely sure what I'm putting in each section yet. What was I thinking? How come I didn't start this 8 months ago? Is it too early for wine? Someone help me. I am sinking. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Just do one chapter at a time. So I pulled a random card off the table, opened my eyes, and it was, of course, Chapter 19, The Drama of Overwhelm. I'd like to remind you, and me, that the majority of the pain and suffering in our lives is caused by the unnecessary drama that we create. If we happen to find ourselves, for example, in a catatonic state of overwhelm, hugging our knees while rocking back and forth with our mouths hanging open, just like everything else in our lives, all it takes is a shift in perception to create a new reality. Life is but a dream. Don't turn it into a nightmare. We are so unbelievably blessed to have all the things we have. All the opportunities and ideas and people and tasks and interests and experiences and responsibilities. Choosing to freak out about it all, rather than enjoying the living of our lives, is like throwing pearls before swine. Such a waste of such a glorious gift. In the interest of helping you get a more pleasant perspective on your massive to-do list, let's take the 3 most common complaints about overwhelm and pretty them up. 1. There's not enough time. Thanks to the hard work of people with big brains, we now know that time is an illusion. While most people have no idea what the hell that means, there is another angle that's a lot easier to grasp. Not having time is an illusion. For example, I don't have time to find a real parking spot, so I'll park in this loading zone. Oh, look at that. I just spent 3 hours I don't have getting my car out of the tow garage, another 2 getting lost on the way home, and 45 minutes complaining about it to my wife. I don't have time to clean my office. Oh, look at that. I just spent half an hour that I don't have looking for my phone that was buried beneath a pile of crap. Oh, and look at that. My phone is dead, which means I'm about to waste even more time I don't have looking for the damn charger, which might be under this pile of books over here, please, I hope. When we're forced to do something, suddenly the time is there. Which means it's there all the time, but we've just chosen to limit ourselves by believing that it isn't. Ever notice how if you've got suddenly the time is 6 months to do something, it'll take you 6 months to do it. But if you have a week, it'll take you a week. Once you understand that time, like the rest of your reality, is in your mind,
that's
crazy. You can make it work for you instead of being enslaved.
She said if you had 6 months to do something, it'll take you 6 months. But if you had a week to do it, it'll take you a week.
That is actually really
Time is an illusion. We make things harder than what they really are.
Some things you can do right now to start wrangling time into submission. Show some respect. If you want more time in your life, show time some respect. If you're constantly late, if you blow things off, or if you're a flake, you're not sending a message to the universe, or others, or yourself, that you value this precious time that you crave and are trying to create more of for yourself. You can create anything you desire, but you have to truly want it. If you act like time isn't important, that it's fully worth wasting and disrespecting, you're not in alignment with what you say you want, so you're going to have a hard time getting it. I mean, think of time as a person. Would you expect time to keep showing up for you if you constantly treated it like it was just some dumb thing that didn't matter? I should think not. If you're always late, start being early. If you constantly cancel or flake or forget your dates with people, get it together. Write down your appointments and keep them. Set your alarm on your cell phone to remind you to get ready. Early. Write things on the back of your hands. Keep your word if you say you're going to do something. It's not rocket science. If you want to have a good relationship with time, have a good relationship with time. Not only will this help you create more time in your own life, but you'll stop being one of those rude people who constantly wastes everyone else's. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. What do you find yourself doing instead of doing what you're supposed to be doing? Screwing around on Facebook? Answering emails? Eating even though you're not hungry? Once you know what your favorite distractions are, you can build up a good defense against them. Turn off the internet and phone while you're working. Make the kitchen off limits until you're done if you constantly find yourself standing in front of the open refrigerator door in a stupor. We get into such bad habits that half the time we don't even realize what we're doing. Once you become aware of what your weak spots are, you can start to protect yourself against them. Chunk it down. There's nothing more deflating than looking at some giant task and wondering how you'll ever get it all done. So don't try and eat the whole elephant at once. Break it down into bite-sized bits. For example, instead of walking around your entire house, from one catastrophically messy room to the next, wondering how you're ever going to clean the whole gigantic thing, and trying to figure out how you can justify not doing it instead of trying to figure out how you're going to do it, break it down and just focus on one room at a time. Our brains can only handle so much information at once without exploding. So by looking at each task separately, the larger task suddenly becomes more manageable. Brains love chunks. Chunking it down works great for time too. For example, if you're working on designing a new website, instead of setting aside the entire day to work, decide that you'll work in hour-long chunks. During this time, you are unauthorized to get up to use the bathroom, get something to eat, check your texts, go online, etc. Once your 60 minutes is up, you can take a break and do whatever you want until your next 60-minute chunk. We can do anything for 60 minutes. Our brains go into overwhelm when we try to do it all in one big block of time. 2. There's too much to do. Ever notice that whenever you ask someone how they're doing, about 99% of the time they say something like, "Good. Really busy, but good." Busy has become the new "fine, thanks." I mean, where's the fun in that? What kind of message does that send out to the world and ourselves? No wonder we all feel like we're living pinned beneath a giant cement slab of a to-do list. So yes, the first task is to watch your mouth. Stop talking about how busy you are. Focus on what you enjoy about what you do and the spaces in between the doing instead of feeling weighed down by it all. Decide that you live an awesome, relaxed life full of interesting projects that you love doing and communicate that to the world and yourself. And then go out and merrily do it. Get some help. If you're feeling totally confused and disorganized and don't know where to start or what to do next, get some outside perspective. A lot of times we're so tangled up in our own lives that we can't see something that's totally obvious to someone else. Ever spend some quality time searching for your glasses when they're sitting on your head? It's sort of like that. You could spend hours or days or months or forever trying to figure out how to redo your website or plotting out an exercise regimen or figuring out how to organize your office when someone who isn't as buried alive by all the moving parts as you are can nail it right away. Get a new pair of eyeballs on the situation.
Thanks.
And get someone who knows what they're doing, please. Don't get money advice from someone who's as broke as you are, or dating advice from the terminally single, or decide that someone's main qualifications for helping you is that they'll do it for free or trade. Working with a pro will save you time and money in the long run, because you won't have to spend time on doing or doing over whatever your wimpy,